All right, well, hey everybody, welcome and happy Wednesday. This is Don Farrell, one of the co-founders of Actors Theater of Indiana, and thank you so much for spending some of your afternoon with us for a lunch break with ATI. We have our current production of Violet is underway and going on at the Studio Theater at the Center for the Performing Arts. You want to check that out. We have one more week left of that. So check that out. But what we're also doing, as we're coming into our last week of Violet, we are starting rehearsals as of yesterday for a new musical, part of our ATI Theater Lab. It was a program that ATI started back in 2019 to help support the work of new playwrights and composers for plays and or musicals. And so sitting with us today is Laura Goodenow and Justin Rayna of the musical Exposed, a melting pot musical, and that we're going to be doing a reading of that this Saturday at the Studio Theater at 2 p.m. You want to come and check this out. It's going to be so much, it's a great piece, an important piece right now. And so welcome to ATI, and thank you so much for being a part of our ATI Theater Lab program. Talk to us, how did the genesis of this, just working, collaborating, just in the sense of just getting to know each other and working in the art form of musical theater? How did you guys meet?
In 2021, when everything was on lockdown because of COVID, Laura and I both ended up in the same virtual Take Back Your 2021 Theater Makers Challenge. She found some of my music, and she had started working on Exposed, and she reached out to me and said, hey, would you be interested? Can we try one song? So I read through the script, talked about it a little bit, picked out the first song that I thought spoke to me the most, which is actually our lead character Rosamaria's I Want song, called If They Could See Me. Sent it back, went back and forth for a little bit, and the rest, as they say, is history. But it was really just a virtual introduction. And truth be told, until this past June, we had not met in person. But we wrote the entire show remotely because I'm actually based out of Johnson City, Tennessee.
Oh, great.
So, yeah, we got to meet for the first time in Fort Worth at the Musical Writers Theater Festival after working together for a year remotely.
Oh my God.
Lots of FaceTime.
It's amazing how the pandemic has really, things through Zoom, FaceTime, all of the digital ways of being able to communicate, it's been able to help foster more collaboration, I guess, and you don't have to be in the same city in order to do that, and you guys are a perfect example of that.
Had it not been for COVID, wouldn't exist.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a silver lining to the pandemic.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
So how long have you been writing music?
I guess unofficially since 8th grade.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
That's the short version. Obviously, everyone evolves and gets better and better. I graduated high school in 2000, and I took like 7-8 years off because I didn't know what I wanted to do. But all the while, writing music, getting introduced to MIDI labs, like about in 10th grade, and then doing that at home. And then eventually I was like, well, why don't I go to school for music? So in 2009, I went to the University of Tennessee, studied theory composition, did not graduate from there. And then met my wife, got married, was going to transfer to LSU to finish. Waiting for in-state tuition, ended up with 3 children instead.
Wow.
Came back to Tennessee where her parents lived to get some assistance, and ended up graduating from East Tennessee State University with an interdisciplinary studies degree in music theory comp from my UT studies, and theater design and production, which is what I studied largely at ETSU. Which is a really fancy title for I write music for plays. So, that's my composing history.
That's your composing history. How about you, Laura? How did you get involved in writing? What drew you into the art form?
Well, I mean, I've been writing since I could write.
Yeah.
And it was sort of like a circuitous route to get here. I don't know, I was always a writer, always interested in writing. Went to college for creative writing and chemistry because, I needed to do something.
Yeah. Sorry, I should have put my phone on airplane. What is happening? Be quiet. I did that. See what happens? Do not disturb. Remember, reminder everybody, make sure you have all of your devices on silent or asleep mode or whatever it's called. All right, I hope that's done. So sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Anyway, so yeah, I was a journalist for the first sort of iteration of my adult life, and so that was kind of creative writing, but also practical writing in a way, print journalist, and went into corporate editing, whatever. And at some point, decided, my passion, like we only have so much time in our lives, right? We don't know when the clock is gonna be up, and so I decided I'm ready to invest in myself and give life to the stories and provide meaning to the world in the way that I know how to, which is through storytelling. So
that's important. I mean, there's so many stories out there. There's so many great stories that have already existed, which is why one of the reasons ATI wanted to start this program, because there's so many more stories to be able to be developed and shared with our community, because I think it all raises us all up, and we can learn from each other. Especially, this is a great example of that with this musical Exposed. So how did the process of coming up with this, what inspired, I think it's very topical and definitely a hot button issue, but the way I love how you described this before, of taking humor and being able to use that through healing and musical theater to be able to help learn about each other and each other's struggles and aspirations, goals, all of that. Talk about how Exposed came about.
Sure. Well, it started with me, and I wanted to write a show that explored the concept of hiding from ourselves, from each other. It's something that I personally also write, like being vulnerable, putting yourself out there.
Right.
And I just started with a very simple concept, and I knew how I wanted the show to start and end. I'm not going to tell you how it ends, but the way it starts is basically Rosa Maria is flashed through her window. We do not see the flasher, but she's flashed through her window.
Peeping Tom.
Like a
right?
peeping Tom. Exactly. And that sort of like starts the process of opening her up. And that was the seed for the idea. And as I was writing it, and different characters were sort of like coming into my mind. How do I want to put this together, and what do I want the show to say? And it was around the time of the 2017-18 increased ice raids across the U.S. And it really just, like, the concept of hiding, I was like, well, that's another level. That's a deeper level. That's something that is worthy of exploring, because people just want to live lives and be people, but a lot of people that have been living in this country for many, many years, undocumented, but working within the system and everything, we're suddenly afraid to leave their homes. And I'm reading articles and I'm watching news stories, and I'm like, I really want to be part of this conversation and bring some humanity and heart into this conversation in the way that I can. And so, but I'm like, I can't really. Like, I can, but I can't. So I found a Peruvian dramaturg. My two of my characters are Peruvian undocumented immigrants, and my Peruvian dramaturg, Sebastian Nadal Vargas, is fantastic and just roots me in Peru. And what I loved about the concept of Peru too is that, and I was getting these emails like, come to Peru, but at the same time, like, there's all this social unrest that was happening in the 90s and people were fleeing. So while, the American version is, hey, come to Peru, come, travel, there are people that are like fleeing the country because it's not the pretty picture necessarily. Like the dichotomy of that, the push and pull of that, I thought was just really fascinating thing to explore. And how we are all tied together as humans in family and love and relationship. And I wanted to explore that, but also be honest and honor the gravity of the immigration issue and all the different sides. Like I said, I was a journalist to start, so for me, it's about really looking at it holistically. And it's not like you're bad, you're good. It's like, this is a conversation, and this is what each character brings to the conversation, so that the people who come can leave with their own conversation.
And that's the best. We're all storytellers at heart in theater and in other mediums as well, but specifically towards musical theater and what this is, and how we're able to tell those stories and yeah, exactly. Hopefully, inspiring conversation
Yeah.
that might stay with you. That's also a sign of a good piece, is that it stays with you. It allows you to. Sometimes, I mean, there's a variety of on the medium, right? You can have ones that just make you feel so good, and you walk out tapping your toes, and you're like, it's just a good way of being able to escape, which is very important and very valid as well. But then there's also moments that it's good. Let's talk about it, but how we deal with getting those, dealing with subject matter like this, and utilizing humor or empathy and compassion through that storytelling.
We hope for both.
Important. Yeah, yeah.
We want them leaving happy,
Yes.
hopeful, toe tapping, and ready to have a
And contemplative, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's very timely too. Obviously, it's been a subject that's been talked about a lot in the media, and dealing with individuals directly and indirectly, but I think directly really even more so. And you're talking about Peru, but you're talking about Haiti. There could be a mass exodus going on because of what the unrest and stuff like that from Haiti, and so
many places.
and it's just it seems like it's not just isolated to one location.
No.
People are always looking to improve their lives, but also it's a as with any big hot button topic, being able to see each other's perspectives on that and hopefully have a conversation together. And I think that's one of the good things about this too, is it allows us to have that conversation. And the more each of us are able to learn from each other and understand and appreciate each other, that's how we can move forward.
Exactly. That's the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. What it has been like? Would you say? I was talking, leading a Q&A after Violet that we did on Sunday.
I was there.
About the production
Violet's
of Violet.
so good, by the way. Yeah.
We're very proud. A great cast, great production team, designers. Richard J. Roberts did a marvelous job directing. But I asked him then. I said, "What was when you were directing this? What was the easiest for you to be able to stage, and what was more difficult?" I posed that question kind of also in the taking a subject matter like this, and what, without giving anything away that people might be experiencing on, being able to receive, hear the story on Saturday. But when you were writing this piece and collaborating, what were oh wow, I didn't think this was going to go as easy as it did. Whoa, this is a little bit more challenging. Can you talk to that without giving anything too terribly much away?
Well, I think we can talk specific to music.
Sure.
I would write the lyrics first. Everyone's asked which comes first, but I was writing the lyrics, and I'd send them to Justin, and I'd be like, "Here's kind of what I hear, like in my terrible voice," and he'd be like, "Okay," and then he would turn something, turn into something beautiful. But it varied. Like some songs, it's like here, and you'd be like, "Yep, got it, and we're on it."
You'd almost be surprised which ones. Laura's such a fantastic writer that it mainly made my job very easy because the songs told me what they wanted to sound like. And in general, I always ask for the writer's impression of pace. So like I'm not writing something super slow when they think it's supposed to be super fast. And in all of the songs, I think there was only one song where we had a disagreement about what was happening in the moment, and I thought it should be a ballad. And she said, "Go for it." She gave me that artistic license, so I sent it back, and it shifted what was happening in the scene slightly, but it made sense. And so you'll get to hear that song on Saturday. It's called "A Different Hue." And then there were other songs that we thought should be easier. A Mother's Lullaby song called "Afraid." That was the most challenging thing for me to write because I am not a mother. And so we kept going back and forth. I'm like, I think these are the right chords. I think this is the right melody, but it still doesn't have the right feel. And we tried a lot of different things. And then with my personal music background experience, I'm a drummer professionist, marched with Drum Corps International, so I'm high energy, a lot of rhythm. So any of the intense numbers were actually easier for me to sculpt because it's where my affinities lie. But it opened up this world of considerably challenging music in musical theater that I felt strongly supported the challenging subject matter that we're talking about. So that's some of the difficulties is in the challenge of some of the musical pieces, some of the ensemble numbers. Some of the challenges writing the simplest stuff, And then some of the things, when Laura asked me last minute, hey, this character actually doesn't have a song, this character needs a song. I wrote a brand new song, and we're like 2 weeks before the deadline. She hands me this piece, and I look at it, and it was just clear. And that one I turned around in like less than like a day and a half.
Yeah.
And it just made sense. And it was the one we revised the least.
Really?
Yeah.
And
How
so
about that?
it was very surprising, like to both of us.
Okay.
It's interesting how some other creatives that I've in creating their pieces, and how the piece almost has its own life, and it starts speaking to
Yeah.
the authors.
Especially after reading the script and every revision for a year and a half. Like
Yeah.
you start to know the characters.
Right.
And that really informs like the decisions. Like, well, this character would act like this. And this is how that sounds musically. You know? So
I'm very excited to see this on set. And you guys had your first rehearsal yesterday,
We
right?
did.
Last night?
Yeah.
How did it go?
it was day one. Yeah,
I know, right? It's a whirlwind.
We started with those really tricky songs, the big ensemble numbers that like.
It's a lot to bite off, like right off the cuff.
Uh-huh.
But obviously we started with that, so we have the most time to work on that. And all things considered, like everything was handled very, very well.
Oh yeah,
That's
it was
great.
fantastic. Can I say one thing?
Yeah,
Just
sure.
just talking about our collaboration, because it's been so fun. What I think is so important and so great about working with Justin is that we trust each other. So I'll send something and I'll be like, I think it's like this, and he'll be like, yeah, okay, but yeah, let's like make it like this, and I'm like, okay, well, let's make it like this. But a different hue, for example, when I sent it one way and he was like, it's a ballad, and I'm like, okay, I trust you. I trust your instincts for this, but I have to figure out how to make sure it is supported in the scene, right? So then I ended up adding some dialogue within the song that actually then rooted the song into something even bigger, and that opened up sort of even some parts of the characters that I hadn't thought about or known. So it's just been a beautiful blossoming in our back and forth with the music and with Sebastian, but more just the way that we are able to trust each other. And if he's like, no, that doesn't feel right, and I'm like, no, that doesn't feel right, we'll just keep working it until we're like, okay, we're both good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love the art form itself, collaboration. It's working together. And by working together, we learn and grow even more. If we all could only be able to do that, right? And that is what the ATI Theater Lab is really about. It's about supporting that type of process of the creation and development of new stories, and be there to support them in the process of that with this wonderful cast that's been assembled. Also, we've got Victoria, how is it? Victoria's last name? Betances? I'm so sorry. Ian Cruz,
didn't even get to
Luca
last names,
Arriba, Jill Amalia, Jacob Butler, Pete Scarborough, and then of course our Cindy Collins with ATI. Those are the cast members, and you're going to be able to see that this Saturday at the Studio Theater at 2 p.m. And you can get tickets to that by going to thecenterpresents.org or atistage.org, or calling the Center for the Performing Arts box office at 317-843-3800. It's a very quick process. Like they said, we started rehearsals last night, and it's culminating into the reading that's going to be done for you on Saturday at 2 p.m. It's a very exciting thing. The goal with ATI not only is to help support this, but hopefully find, it's a stepping stone to eventually getting an actual full production. And we were able to do that with our season closer of Mr. Confidential, which opens April 28th of 2023 and goes until May. It runs for 3 weeks, May 14th. So check that out. For those of you who remember Mr. Confidential, Two Henrys, Hollywood, Nebraska, Providence, there's a lot of new works that we were supporting during that. And why don't you guys come out and check out Exposed, a melting pot musical. And that's going to be this Saturday at 2 p.m. Thank you guys so much for being a part of our podcast today.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Come check us out. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.